Hello, good evening and welcome to the primetime news coming to you on DBS television from our Douala studio in Cameroon this Thursday, the 15th of August 2019. Another anchor, I am Amadou Jallo Buba. Our news begins with a human interest story from the town of Garoua in the North region, where a 3-year-old boy is allegedly murdered by a gang involved in children trafficking. The incident occurred on Wednesday in the neighborhood of Gabaji Peyiba in the Garoua 1 municipality. The culprits are said to be under the custody of the police in helping in investigations. Details in the following report with Vanessa Chuyong.
It's horrible, it's painful, it's sad to see the lifeless body of Usman, a 3-year-old child who was brutally murdered by an alleged Buba and his gang, who lived next to the victim's parents in the Gabije Peyiba neighborhood in Garoua 1. The family of Usman discovered the body of their child after a desperate search for over 24 hours. An inhabitant of that locality narrates the pathetic story.
Yesterday, his father returned home at 6 p.m. He asked where the child was, but he was nowhere to be found. His second wife told him that he is in the neighbor's house. On his arrival, the lady called Aisatu said the child wasn't home and refused the parents to get into her house.
That same evening, they had reported the disappearance of their son to the judicial police and later to the police station of the 4th district, and equally alerted the population around. He further adds.
Les gens là se sont réunis.
The population gathered to discuss on how the baby would be brought out of the house. A Christian living behind came and pled with that if anything has occurred, there is a way to fix it. But all efforts were in vain. It is the son of the lady who came and confessed that the body of Usman is in the toilet. The people forced themselves into his house and the body was found. They had pressed him with blocks.
Upset, the population of Gabije Peyiba rebelled against this atrocity through mob action. It took the intervention of security forces to rescue the 2 supposed assassins, all soaked in blood. The body was removed for burial in a Muslim cemetery. The population still remains perplexed to this incident and hopes appropriate measures are taken by the authority. It should be noted that these alleged murderers have been formally accused of committing several hideous crimes and escaping. Story to be continued.
As that story to be continued in our subsequent news editions, now we will be taking you to religious news. Christians or Catholic Christians of the Holy Mary's Chapel here in Douala have been called upon to imitate the virtues of Mary so as to live a graced life. This was during celebrations to mark the solemnity of Assumption today of the Blessed Virgin Mary to heaven. Our reporter, Mange Vernasius, attended that solemn service and now tells us more in the report that follows.
Even the poor weather this 15th of August 2019 could not discourage these Christians of the Holy Mary's Chapel, Pentecost Parish, Newtown Airport in the Archdiocese of Douala to come out in their numbers to celebrate the solemnity of the Assumption of Mary to heaven. Drawing inspiration from the readings of the day, taken from the books of Revelation, 1 Corinthians and the Gospel of St. Luke, Reverend Father Charles Maria in his homily made a distinction between the ascension of Jesus and the assumption of Mary into heaven. In the former case, Jesus went up to heaven on his own accord, while in the latter, Mary was taken up to heaven by God. Like Jesus, Mary, after completing her earthly life, was taken up to heaven. He schooled his faithful that this is a truth of faith contained in a dogma defined in 1950.
Our Mother Mary had been taken away from the earth after her life in heaven. This is a dogma of faith, and nobody should go against it as a Christian Catholic. We have been defined properly by Pope Pius XII in the year 1950, the 1st of November properly.
The Assumption of Mary is a doctrine that comes from the tradition of the Church from early ages. Although it is not a biblical fact, Father Charles Maria identified similar cases in the Bible, like that of Enoch and Prophet Elijah in the Old Testament, that were taken up to heaven. As such, it could not be impossible for Mary, immaculate from conception, to be taken up as well. She could not know the corruption of death, as she was purely prepared by God from the beginning. He presented Mary as a model of Christian virtue to be imitated by those who want to enjoy the beatific vision.
Mary is properly a model of virtues in chastity, in humility, in purity, but also in patience, for example. In faith, she practiced the faith, she was obedient to God. God was asking, are you ready to receive my son? She accepted.
In the course of the celebration, a number of infants were baptized and 9 Christians were also consecrated to the Immaculate Heart, an act with spiritual implication for these Christians. They used the occasion to pray for an end to the crisis in Cameroon and for peace, unity, and stability in the country.
Revamping peace, stability, and national cohesion in Cameroon was the center for focus in an inter-community dialogue that was organized yesterday by the Network for the Defense of Human Rights in Central Africa, RADAC. The conference that took place in Douala pinpointed to some major causes of crisis and instability in the country and the ways forward. Details in the following report with Cynthia Gwemo.
Cameroon, since 2013, has repeatedly been going through a chain of turbulent moments, varying from socio-political crises, armed conflicts, social unrest, and post-election crises, amongst others. These are a result of a lack of effective communication and understanding amongst the parties concerned, and may only get worse if appropriate measures are not taken. This is the stand of the Network for Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa, RADAC, as they organized their very first inter-community dialogue this August 14, involving Cameroonians from all the 10 regions of the country. The ceremony enabled an exchange of ideas and experiences amongst the participants and equally gave them room for proposals on ways of preserving peace and stability in Cameroon. In the inter-community dialogue ceremony, the role of security and defense forces in maintaining peace was not left out. They were encouraged to avoid violence and intimidation as a means of settling conflicts. The widespread of tribalism and hate speeches, particularly on media platforms, was also highlighted as key cause of some challenges faced in Cameroon. To better inform and educate participants on this, a local peace-promoting movie was played for the over 60 participants who were present.
The senior divisional officers, mayors, and some councillors and other stakeholders involved in the process of decentralization in the Adamawa regions has come together for a conference in order to build their skills. In the following report, Rahid Ulia Abia will be giving us more report on that.
Having observed a favorable appropriation of the budgeting, execution, and monitoring reform by council officials and administrators, there was need to take them back to the drawing board. It was to educate them on the reform of budget, implementation and monitoring of investment resources transferred to the decentralized territorial communities. This was done through a capacity building seminar for officials of decentralized territorial communities and service centers. The workshop that took place in the Adamawa region brought in mayors and their bosses, the senior divisional officers of that region. It was equally a forum for these decentralized units to get acquainted with the budgeting calendar that was signed by the head of state some months back.
Within the context of the process of decentralization, the hierarchy thought wise organizing this workshop because the mayors and the other stakeholders should acquaint themselves with the skills made to ameliorate the context, the process of decentralization.
The irreversible process of decentralization that the country has engaged on focuses on the councils. Speaking during the seminar, Governor Kildadi of the Adamawa region urged participants to effectively apply what they have learned, given that it was to serve the people. He notified that most projects will be selected as required and answers to the needs of the people. And if that is done effectively to him, all will be carried out without delay.
The mayor of the region came up massively and they followed keenly the messages of the various experts from the various ministries who came from Yaoundé. And I do hope that the process will be well handled by the councils, the mayors of Adamawa region, with the view of ensuring the better standard of living of the citizens. So we have to salute this initiative, this laudable initiative from the government.
The experts from the concerned ministry assisted participants through exposés and exchange.
A two-day workshop has been held in Betua, headquarters of the East Region, involving volunteers of the Center and the East Region who came as participants in the National Volunteering Program. It helped them acquire practical knowledge and skills on various sectors of activities for future use. Details in the following paper with our reporter, Cynthia Ngwemo.
Youth of the Center and East region of the country have been the main beneficiaries of a two-day program in Betua, chief town of the East region. The workshop titled National Volunteering Program was carried out with the aim to better equip the volunteers and local development actors on the strategies of advocacy and working with local authorities. It equally involved establishing the role and responsibilities of local actors in the management and follow-up of volunteering missions in Cameroon. In order to supervise the task formally assigned to volunteers in certain structures, authorities of the National Volunteering Program paid a visit to the sites. While there, their supervisors were able to give a general appraisal of their volunteers or interns and their performances.
He has been here as our student. You know him as your volunteer, but he has been here as our student. He started with the blood bank unit, and from there he entered the big lab. In the big lab, he has been working at the different units, the bacteriology, serology, hematology, biochemistry, and then he finished now with the molecular biology.
A feeling of satisfaction emerged in the authorities as they noticed the commitment of their volunteers.
I've seen volunteers from the field highly committed to their mission. We were at the level of agro-pastoral activity on the field. We saw the volunteer there working and in a conducive environment. Now we are here in the hospital, where also we have seen a volunteer highly appreciated by the whole staff, and we thanked the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education who gave us the opportunity to come to the field to see how our volunteers are accomplishing their mission.
At the end of the two-day workshop, a large stock of work material were handed to Divisional Delegation of Youth and Civic Education to aid the youth volunteering in the program.
The respect of ethics and hard work was re-echoed during the graduation ceremony of some 166 teachers of Insect Betua in the South region. The Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Jacques Famdongo, was presiding over the event, called on the laureate to demonstrate a sense of dynamism while at their different workplaces. Details in the following report with our reporter, Wamba Tansi Mirabel.
The Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jean Pham Ndongo's recent visit in the South region, precisely in Eboloa, was for a serious assignment. an assignment in the Higher Teachers Technical Training School (ENSET), which was aimed at encouraging the first batch of 166 teachers who just graduated from 19 faculties in the first and second cycles, respectively. After the traditional academic procession, Minister Jean Pham Ndongo reiterated to these graduates that Cameroon is in need of their services and they must be dynamic and very actively involved in their professional lives. The director of ENSET, Ebolowa, Professor Njankomo Salomon, stressed on the respect of ethics and best results. The august guest took off time himself to hand over the certificates to the best all-round laureates. The future teachers at this point were overwhelmed with joy as they thanked both the institution and their parents for standing by them throughout this period, which, they added, was never an easy ride. It is therefore hope that with all the enthusiasm these great minds carry, they will be able to dish out knowledge to the society wherever duty calls.
We are not leaving Betua in the South region yet, as we are going to talk sport this time around. An inter-competition bringing different quarters of a subdivision within Betua has just rounded up in that part of the country. Details in the following report with Wamba Tansi Mirabel once more.
The ambience was high and the happiness even more between the inhabitants of Onglo, a village in the Biwongbulu subdivision in Ebolowa 2. This was during a crowd-pulling event of an inter-quarter finals competition organized by a grassroots association known as ADE, aimed at bringing the sons and daughters of Ebolowa 2 together from far and near. The arrival of the duo of Biwongbulu set the ball rolling between the two finalists, Eclair and Eternel FC. The expectation of the supporters of both teams were high. The players themselves were even more expectant, with every side striving hard to carry the trophy. But since in a game of football one team must win, Eclair humbled Eternel with 1-0, emerging as the champion of the 2019 edition. Unbelievable but true, the bitter pill had to be swallowed by the adversaries, a jubilation moment to the winners. The duo applauded the effort of both players and supporters, urging them to preach and practice love, peace and solidarity. The tournament started a few weeks ago with 32 teams from different quarters in the Biwongbulu subdivision in Ebolowa.
And it's with that report there from Ebolowa that we draw the curtain for tonight's newscast. But remember, more news will be coming up at exactly 9 p.m. this time around in the French language with Hervé Mukuri. We hope to be in your company when it will be 8 p.m. tomorrow, God's willing. Stay tuned to DBS for more information and entertainment if you can. Good night.